What's up guys, it's Roast Beef here with another jungle guide. Today I'm talking about Kindred, the Eternal Hunters. And for purposes of this guide, Lamb is the player controlled character and Wolf is the untargetable NPC that goes along with Lamb. Well, I want to talk about Kindred today because they are an interesting break from your typical bruiser, assassin, jungler meta. They're actually something like an AD carry skirmisher who has huge damage potential and unique scaling mechanics that I just love to mess around with. As always, we're going to start with Kindred's abilities, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on the passive, so if you want some refreshers on that, feel free to stick around for that. Then we're going to break down what runes and items you should be using. After those, we'll talk about your first clear, ganking, objectives, and early to late game strategies, and then I'm going to finish the video off with all my tips and tricks for Kindred, so make sure you stick around to the end for those. If there's just a certain section you need, check out the timestamps below to skip to it. Anyways, if there's a champion you want to see next, or a tip that I forgot to mention, make sure you drop it in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like, and if you want to see more jungle guides, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I make a new guide every single week. With all that said, let's get into the video, starting with Kindred's abilities. For Kindred's abilities, you want to grab W, Q, E for levels 1 to 3, and then you'll max R, Q, W, E. Now, like I said earlier, I'm going to cover Kindred's abilities focusing on her passive since it gets a little complicated, and you want to know what camps your mark is going to be on. But if you don't need all that, feel free to skip ahead to runes and items. So let's go ahead and get started with that passive. So the passive is Mark of the Kindred, which causes Lamb and Wolf to mark targets. After a target has been marked for at least 8 seconds, if Kindred gets a takedown on it, they gain a stack, which increases their attack range and empowers their abilities. Lamb, or you, the player, can mark enemy champions once every 75 seconds, and if you kill that mark, it will go on a 4-minute cooldown for that character, so you can't just farm top lane over and over. And Wolf marks enemy jungle camps according to the following rules. The first mark, at 3 minutes and 15 seconds, will always be on one of the Scuttle Crabs, and until you collect at least one mark, Scuttle will be the only one you can collect. While Kindred has 1 to 3 marks, Wolf will mark Scuttle, Raptors, or Gromp. If you have 4 to 7 marks, Krugs, Wolves, Red Buff, or Blue Buff will be marked. And if you have more than 8, the only marks you can get are Rift Herald, Baron, and Dragon, along with, of course, enemy players. The enemy can see what camp is marked via their minimap, and if they take it, Kindred will react verbally about 15 seconds later, and 30 seconds later, after that reaction, so 45 seconds after they take it, Wolf will mark a different camp for you to try and steal. I know it's a lot of info, but don't stress about it too much. Practice with Kindred, and this all becomes muscle memory. Anyways, on to her real abilities, or their real abilities. Kindred's Q is Dance of Arrows, which has Kindred dash a short distance, and then fire 3 arrows at a nearby target. This ability resets Kindred's auto attack, and when used with W, has a set low cooldown of like 2 or 3 seconds. Kindred's W is Wolf's Frenzy, which gives her a passive that works similar to Fleet Footwork, healing her after she moves around enough, and when activated, has Wolf claim an area. While Wolf is in the area, he attacks enemies within it autonomously by himself. You don't have to direct him, dealing a small amount of magic damage, but he will prioritize enemies that you are attacking. And while Wolf has an area claimed, your Q has a lower cooldown. If you leave the area or die, Wolf will disappear and stop attacking people. Kindred's E is Mounting Tread, which marks a target for 4 seconds and slows them for 1. If Kindred attacks targets 3 times after it's been marked, Wolf will pounce on that third auto, dealing execute damage and critically striking depending on their HP and your crit chance. Last but not least, Kindred's R is Lamb's Respite, which places a zone under your location that prevents all units from going below 10% of their max HP. Once they hit that threshold, they become immune to further damage and healing. After 4 seconds, the zone disappears and heals all units inside. That wraps up Kindred's kit, but make sure to stick around because I am going to go over a few more tips and tricks into the video. With that said, let's move on to runes and items. When it comes to runes, Kindred likes to take Conqueror, Triumph, Legend Alacrity, and Last Stand in the Precision tree, along with Sudden Impact and Ravenous Hunter in the Domination tree. If you don't like Last Stand, Coup de Grace also works pretty well with Kindred. The Last Stand is really nice because when you pop your ultimate, you can get stuff stacked up and just execute people as soon as they come out, and you'll be low as well. But, you know, Coup de Grace works the same because you do still have execute. Yeah, so those both work pretty well. You take Sudden Impact for sure because you constantly are jumping around with Q and it gives you tons of extra free lethality. And then Conqueror is nice because you don't play your typical AD carry role, you are more of a skirmisher than a typical AD carry, and you will get Conqueror stacked up very quickly. On items, it's best to stomach Red Smite and Refillable Pot because Kindred loves to duel and has plenty of mobility from her Q. And then you'll build into Kraken Slayer, Berserkers, Collector, and then you'll get some options of IE or RFC for your 4th item. 5th item will be GA, IE or RFC, and 6th item will be GA, IE, or Mortal Reminder. And we picked these items because Kindred is really just a skirmisher AD carry, similar to Lucian and Callisto with their dashes. And we don't really want to run any lifesteal because it hurts our crit, which is important for our damage in general, but also because it helps our E scale up even higher. And because we have Omnivamp from taking Ravenous Hunter, and our R in case we are actually about to die. With the build settled, let's move on to the gameplay. But do make sure you stick around to the end because that's when I'll talk about the things you may not realize about Kindred right away, like how to use her Q properly. If you're trying when to decide to play Kindred, look for your team lacking AD damage or being full of tanks, because you'll need just damage in general. If the enemy team doesn't have a lot of dashes, or a few assassins, that's also a great game to play Kindred into, because Kindred really is primarily countered by people who can get on top of her and destroy her with multiple dashes, or people who can blow her up before she can press R. But for specific counters, Kindred counters Nunu, Shyvana, and Rek'Sai, so feel free to play her into those enemies if you come across them. For your ability order, like I said earlier, you're going to take W, Q, E for levels 1 to 3, and then you'll max R, Q, W, E. For the first clear on Kindred, you'll want to take 5 camps and be at Scuttle to contest. If you cannot get 5 camps and be at Scuttle on time at 3:15 or sooner, do 4 camps, because that first Scuttle is super important. You have to take the 50-50 chance on which side it spawns on, and if you're wrong, try to get your laners to stop the enemy jungler from taking it so you can come and swing down and grab it. You have a decent level 3 fight with your movement, with your WQ and your execute on your E, but be very careful of any champs that can jump on you, or if you jump in and your Q's on a long cooldown, you could be in trouble, because you really want to kite out at that level. Due to the nature of the Scuttle fights, and a jungler usually dying, or at least having to contest you there, it's not a bad idea for your first mark to go on the enemy jungler as soon as the game starts, because that lets you change it if you just change your mind, a minute or two later. And if you do get a kill, or your laners rotate and help you get a kill on the jungler, you can get potentially a mark even if the other Scuttle is your wolf mark, When it comes to early game strategies, you really want to focus farming up and maybe getting a mark or two from overextended enemies, but don't try to fight too much as you are relatively weak early. Your big power spike is going to be your 4th mark, because that gives you 75 extra range on your auto attacks and your Q and your W, which is really nice. So just play around that. In the mid game, you should be thinking about who dies a lot on the enemy team during fights and try and farm them for marks. Now, they do have a 4-minute cooldown, so you want to try and get someone else in between farming that same person. But if you can go top every 4 minutes and get a free kill, absolutely do that and get your marks stacked up, because that is just huge for you and for your top laner, honestly. In that mid-game scenario, remember, you can probably roam the map solo and look for kills, because at this point, you should have your first item, your Kraken Slayer, maybe your boots too, and you'll have a lot of damage and the ability to do most enemies. In late game, you want to continue looking for duels around the map, but also group for team fights, as your damage output is really strong and you can save lives with your ultimate. The really cool thing when it comes to Kindred late game is that if you can WQ onto somebody and hit them with E and slow them, a lot of times you'll kill them in those first 3 autos. If it's like a squishy 80 carrier support, they'll be dead. And if it's a tank character, they usually just can't reach you, so you can harass the crap out of them. On objectives, when it comes to Dragon and Baron and Rift Herald, you kind of struggle to take Dragon solo early, and you want to farm, so consider ignoring it, but keeping vision, because you can very easily queue over the walls to try and steal it. Also, if someone does try to go for it, invade their jungle. If their jungler is at Dragon, take all of their top side, leave them hanging. Or just ping your bot lane, because a lot of times when I try and take Dragon early, if the enemy bot lane or their mid lane just walks over without my lane following them, I have to abandon it and run away, because I can't take that fight alone. But yeah, with those basics covered, let's get on to my favorite tips when I'm playing Kindred. So on tips and tricks for Kindred, the first one I have is that marks are really important, but sometimes they should not be your highest priority. If you have an easy gank top lane, but you can't mark them for whatever reason, just take the kill. Gold is still gold, which means items, and the experience advantage that you and your top laner will get from killing the enemy top laner matters. So if it's just a stupid easy gank, take it. If you can get a mark on it, that's perfect, but if you can't, don't sweat it. The second tip that I have is also related to marks, because you have to mark a target while out of combat, and you have to mark them at least 8 seconds before you get a takedown on them. Don't mark targets while you're ganking, or you may end up killing them before the mark is active. Try marking them while you're clearing a camp right before you go to top lane, for example. While you're clearing Gromp on the blue side, clear Gromp, start the mark, get to lane, and you should be able to kill them right around the time the mark is becoming active. And another thing on the mark, because they're a huge part of Kindred's kit, is that when you're marking enemies, understand it's a little bit of a mind game. Because if I'm playing against a Kindred and I'm a top laner and I get marked by Kindred, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna back up, because if I stay in lane and fight, I'm risking scaling Kindred for free with full knowledge that she's gonna try and kill me. You know, it's just not smart. And I want to quickly talk about on your ganks with Kindred. You don't have a ton of CC, so you really want to try and gank from behind them. So like, if you're blue side, try and go through Baron Pit into the enemy's tri-bush rather than walking just straight through river, because that way you can walk a little bit through lane, get all the way behind them, and get the full advantage of your W, Q, and E, and have your slow still and your execute, because you don't really want to use your E right away because it does have that execute strength, but sometimes you have to for the slow. Sorry, back to the fourth tip, or the third tip, is that it can be a mind game. If you mark a laner, they should think you're coming in back up. So if your bot lane's about to get dove and you mark the enemy's bot lane, the enemy's bot lane might say, oh shit, Kindred's coming, let's back up. Fourth tip, when you're running on a base, use your W and Q together to get back to jungling faster, because your W lowers your Q cooldown to a set value, so you can run out of fountain if you don't have home guards, drop your W, and usually Q inside of it twice to move just a little bit faster. And then your abilities will be back up by the time you get back to the jungle. Fifth tip is that if an opponent is very low, but out of auto range, try throwing down W to have Wolf attack them. Sometimes he will actually hit them and has enough damage to finish them off, and worst case scenario, this lowers your Q cooldown so that you can jump forward and try and auto them. Sixth tip is that when you use your ultimate, start your E on an enemy and get it to 2 stacks, but wait to pop the third until your ultimate finishes, because if you do it this way, they will almost always die to the execute crit damage. Seventh tip is that when you're dueling melee champions, you can kite them around thin walls by just jumping back and forth and over them with your Q. And the last tip that I have is that you have an extremely strong skirmishing mid-game and onwards if you get ahead, or even if you're even. So feel free to push enemy junglers and punish them if they can't really deal with your kiting abilities. One that my favorite jungler is Vi. And when I play Vi into Kindred, it sucks because I have pre-6, I have my Q, and if I miss my Q, she kills you every time. Even if you land your Q, and you usually won't kill her in your burst, and then she can kite you until you die. And then late game, you get your R, and you have the chance to blow her up, but if she pops her R, then she just runs you down and you die again. So, kite enemy junglers who can't get on top of you and stay on top of you. I want to thank you guys all for watching, and if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like as it helps me and the channel grow and help even more people. And also, make sure you check out the Jungle Guide playlist, because that's where all of these guides go to after I upload them. I also stream Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 7 to 11 p.m. at twitch.tv/roastbeef, and it would be super cool if you could come check that out. I also want to take this time to thank all the patrons over at patreon.com, and if you'd like to join them, the link is in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching, enjoy the rest of the gameplay I've got for you, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Cool. Ooh, he hit that, he hit those! You hit those, Thresh! Okay, cool. Ugh. We're gonna mark Viego. Oh, Viego's there. Shit. Where's what's her face? Oh dear. What the fuck's going on? Oh, that's huge. What the fuck? Oh, I got destroyed. Oh, Pepper's there. Take the lantern. Take the lantern. Take the lantern. Take the lantern. Oh, he made it. Thank God. Oh, there. Viego. Give Viego. Thanks for the assist gold. Okay, Viego's dead. That's huge for us. I need backup. Yep, hit the root. Rip. I have a lot of damage. I just have to be really careful about getting killed. No any minions. Viego's up soon, so we have to be careful. Let's go. Be a little bit careful here. Viego's alive. Oh, what did it hit? Fuck. Let's go! Ah, god damn, I'm out of my mind. Lord, man. Jesus, this game's ridiculous. I don't know what that was. Need to dodge the Poppy ultimate. We can absolutely fight this. Oh, what is she doing? She can't walk there. Oh, okay, she can. Fine. Oh, you don't get to walk there though. I'm going, baby. Come here. Come here. Come here. I want this W. I don't know what Diana had to go for it there, but like, we can't really. I really want to get something more here, but we really, well. Let's end this game. End it, end it, end it, end it. Twitch chat, I will talk to you all in just a second, I promise. I'm into this game. No, I don't need any more marks. GG's, we finally did it. And what a fucking game to do it to, boys. Oh, that felt good. I was trying so hard the whole damn time. Oh man.